Hi everyone, my name is Yukari, and for the month of July, I am going to be making daily process video as I create watercolor sketches in my Hobonichi Techo planner, which is made from Tomoe River paper. If you watched my video yesterday, thank you. And you know, Tomoe River paper is very popular with fountain pen users, and there are quite a few artists that use it to do watercolor sketches as well. And it's great for watercolor sketches because no matter how much water you put on it, the paint will not bleed through the thin paper. And so that's the reason why I use it. And today I'm going to be showing you one of the big differences between traditional watercolor paper and Tomoe River paper and its reaction to watercolors. The month of July is the World Watercolor Month, where artists from all over the globe share their watercolor pieces, and you have a chance to experiment. You can learn techniques. And if you want to find out more, you can go to worldwatercolormonth.com, or you can go join the Facebook group called World Watercolor Group, and you should find all kinds of resources there. Today's prompt, day 2, is momentum, and when I saw that word, I did have a clear image in my mind about how I wanted to illustrate it, and I really thought of Newton's cradle, which is the pendulum perpetual motion thing I'm sure you've seen, the metal balls hung by string, and you move one and it hits the second, and the last one moves, and the motion just kind of continues. And so that's what I wanted to illustrate or use as my model. And I'll talk a little bit more about how the image turned out and how I decided not to do what I was thinking of initially. So here are my supplies for today. Of course, my watercolor palette, and this is the colors that I've decided to use today. I'm using Hansa yellow medium, and this is Quin Rose, cobalt blue, and this purple was made by combining these two colors, more blue than red. And I was going to use cobalt blue with sap green to create a turquoise color. I just didn't like this mix, and I felt like I didn't have the right green. So I happened to have cobalt turquoise in my palette, so I decided to use that. Because I am going to be creating these spheres, circle shape, I do have a circle template that I use. Of course, my Hobonichi Techo. I have my pen-pencil combination here. This is the Jetstream multi-pen. And this is my silver brush, size 10. And I also have a compass today. And I'm using this triangle just mainly as a device to drag some color. So I will share with you in just a little bit. So if you watched my video yesterday, you know that I didn't include a process video because I just didn't have a good way for me to record my painting. Yesterday I tried to hold my phone and paint, but the video jiggled so much that the quality was really poor. And I did order a clamped iPhone holder on Amazon, and it is supposed to arrive today, but this morning it still hadn't arrived. So I decided to just use an alternate method to try to create this video. So it's not perfect today, but it did work. So here's what I did. Let's see, so you'll see that I have my Surface Pro on top of my work computer on its side, which is sitting on top of my discrete math book that I'm using to plan. Um, and so it recorded upside down, but you know, when you edit video, you can rotate. So you're going to be seeing a little bit on top of the video, this edge. I just couldn't move the surface far enough to avoid that, but at least you'll be able to see non-jiggly video of me painting. All right, so let's get going. All right, so I am using my circle template to create the spheres, and I wanted to create 5 in a row, but then I wanted to create like a motion blur for the first and the last one. And so what I decided to do was to create circles that's fading to represent one that's hitting the second ball, and then the last one sort of moving up. And that's why you saw me with a compass kind of creating the direction of how that first and the last ball would travel. And that is what I am doing here. And I am going to be using those colors that I described for each of the balls. And so this represents kind of the string, and the ones on the ends obviously are slanted because they're going to be that motion blur. All right, so I'm going to start with the Hansa Yellow Medium. And I remember that I forgot to erase the major pencil mark, so I had to stop and do that. And I tend to do that quite a bit. All right, so starting out with yellow, and I wanted to be able to, when I do the second one, touch the yellow a bit and see if the colors mix. You know that on watercolor paper, when you start a new color and you touch an area with another color, the water that's absorbed in the paper will move the pigment in different directions. And so I kind of wanted to mimic that a little bit on Tomoe River paper, but you can see that it's not as prominent. The movement is not as prominent because the paint really sits on top of the paper. It doesn't get absorbed. And so unless you move the paper a little bit or give it a little nudge, the pigment won't move so much. But it does blend a little bit, as you can tell. And so I took my triangle and tried to blur the paint a little bit, and you know, it kind of made a one long fuzzy mess. So I do later eventually kind of outline that circle a little bit more, and I do that same for the yellow part as well. And now I'm just kind of coloring the string part. And I am going to let this dry a little bit so that I can continue. So my painting is almost dry, so I wanted to show you how the same technique would work on watercolor paper. So I grabbed a small piece of Arches 140-pound cold press paper and drew 3 circles, and I'm using the same yellow, red, and blue. And you can see that immediately the colors are bleeding, and I just went ahead and added a little more pigment to all the sides, and making sure that the circles touch each other. And it does take a little while for the pigment to travel, but it's really quite beautiful when it's done. So I'm just going to kind of let that dry and let the pigment do its thing, because it's pretty remarkable. So I wonder if you notice that the little swatch of watercolor paper, the colors really did blend well together. I decided that I wanted to add a quote to this, and so I found a quote online and wanted to illustrate it. And so I used a compass to give me a guideline for a curve, and so that I can use this quote. So momentum begets momentum, and the best way to start is to start. And I thought that is just so very appropriate for me, and probably for a lot of other people. You do want the momentum to start, but you really do have to get started wherever you are. On this sketch, you can, I don't know if you can tell, but I did try to faintly outline my circle a little bit more, so that you can see that it is indeed a circle, and hopefully it conveys the message of motion. All right, so here is my completed page. I did journal a little bit about my thoughts about maintaining momentum. I often don't have issues getting things started, because when you start something new, you get excited, and so I do get started, and daily I get going, but over time, life happens, and it just kind of slows you down, and perhaps it comes to a stop. And it's the second start that I have the biggest problem with. And I just need to find a way, once I get started and slow down, to pick it back up and restart. And hopefully I can continue doing these daily videos. I'm crossing my fingers that I can. So that's my process video for today. And I did add the letters START on the ball, to show that you really do need to start in order to build momentum. So anyway, thank you for watching the video. Hopefully every day my video gets better, and I will be able to use my iPhone clamp for tomorrow's video. And if you enjoy this video today, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you can, and follow me on Instagram, and my blog link is there as well. All right, thank you guys, and we'll do it again tomorrow.